from beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's officially Extreme Rules Saturday. What is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watch Along Wrestling. Hopefully everyone is doing well and staying safe. I have an irremovable smile on my face. I am in Philadelphia for WWE Extreme Rules 2022. Very rarely do we take the camera on the road for things, but I saw this super cool little backdrop and I was like, you know what? I have still not posted my predictions, so why not get on here with you, break down the entire show, and you can kind of feel and live through some of my excitement. Hopefully, we're just a few hours away from the show. My wife has a little surprise reservation set up for me. She's currently in the midst of a little bit of a study session for her grad school, so I figured, hey, why not jump on here with all of Dub Nation, with all of Watch Along Wrestling faithful, and chat with you about the show, because this show, when I first heard, when this show was coming up a couple weeks ago, I was thinking, it's kind of, it's not, you've got Roman Reigns and Logan Paul coming up at Crown Jewel, you've got War Games coming up at Survivor Series. Is this show going to kind of get lost in the shuffle? But the anticipation has built, and I think a lot of that has to do, honestly, with the White Rabbit Tease. I think if this show goes down as the tease for, if this show goes down as the payoff of this incredible tease where WWE's gone completely outside the box with QR codes, with things going on in the background that you have to pay attention to because they're going by so quickly. It's been so much fun, and it seems like everything is leading to tonight, whether that means we get an appearance from the White Rabbit, whether it means we figure out what the White Rabbit is, whatever that payoff is, I think it's gonna happen tonight. I'm really excited for it. I don't wanna get myself super amped up because they've presented a couple of different teases in the past, right? They've gone to that first one where the SmackDown's rating blew up because everybody thought that it was going to come down to the SmackDown was going to be the reveal of this White Rabbit when it first happened, and it was just another tease for Raw. Then Raw came, and it was a tease for the next SmackDown. But this one really was a straight-up, hey, second video of SmackDown led to the White Rabbit jumping into the Extreme Rules kind of symbol there, and so I think it's going to happen tonight. My predictions for it, of course, it's looking like it's going to be something Bray Wyatt related, which would be awesome. It would be great to have Bray Wyatt back. I know a lot of people, some people hate on him. I don't really understand why. The guy was an absolute merch machine for WWE. He was an interesting character in terms of not being like anyone else. And I think WWE has always thrived when they tie themselves into that comic book nature or that supernatural nature. And I think having a character like that on the roster is something that will really inject a lot of excitement into the brand. And I'm really, I'm excited for this. I think that tonight is going to be really centered around the White Rabbit. I think when it ends, we're all going to be talking around the White Rabbit. And I'm hoping it's something welcoming back Bray Wyatt, whether that be old school Bray Wyatt, whether that be the Fiend Bray Wyatt, or whether that be something completely different in the White Rabbit version here that we're currently seeing. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. It would be awesome if that's how the show ended. I think that would be a really fun payoff of, oh my gosh, and then boom, fade to black. That's the end of the show. Obviously no bloodline on this show, so a lot of the show has been built around Sami Zayn, the Usos, Solo Sikoa, and then, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, I kind of tried to say it real quick, and obviously Sami Zayn, the honorary Us. They're all not advertised for this show. Bobby Lashley is not advertised for this show, but I do think that the matches are going to get time to breathe. You got 6 matches on the show. They're really doing a good job of, presenting each match as important. And I think if given time, this could really be a really underrated card, and I'm getting more excited about it as I continue to talk to you guys about it here. So let's break down each one of the matches, starting with what I think will be the main event on the show, and that being Bayley against Bianca Belair in a ladder match. They've done a really good job with Damage Control. I'm not sure they've done as good a job with Damage Control as they have with any group since the Shield. I mean, Damage Control's gotten wins. Damage Control's been presented as a legitimate threat to Bianca Belair, who's been pretty darn dominant over this last year. And so I would really think that this is going to be the time where they go all the way with Damage Control. I think Bayley gets the title. I expect that. See, so it's interesting because if that ends the show, then I guess it can't be the White Rabbit. So maybe the Fight Pit ends the show, because then White Rabbit couldn't come out to go after Bayley unless there's more tied to it. In any event, I think that this match is going to be great. This is going to be a fun show, fun match. What the women getting a ladder match here on the show, and I expect that Bayley's going to get the big win, and they continue to now present Bianca as now needing to come back. She's been that dominant champion since WrestleMania. She's had win after win kind of since she lost the title to Big Time Bex there. at SummerSlam 2021. So I think now having her be back as that underdog character would do a lot for her, and it would present her somewhat differently than she's been presented over these last few months. So I predict that Bayley will be your new women's champion at the end of the night. Speaking of new women's champions, that brings us right to Ronda Rousey going up against Liv Morgan, and this is the time that I think we're good for a title change here. It's going to be an Extreme Rules match. It favors Ronda Rousey. Liv's done okay. I think that she certainly has been presented as more of a legitimate champion, and I think WWE definitely has a star on their hands with Liv Morgan. But I think maybe I'm speaking this into existence because I want the Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler feud, and I don't think that feud is going to be presented at WrestleMania. I think the plan for WrestleMania most likely is going to be Ronda Rousey going up against Becky Lynch when she returns from her injury. I think that match is finally going to happen at WrestleMania, and so it makes sense to me to have Ronda win the title and get that feud with Shayna Baszler in there maybe sometime around Royal Rumble season, leading to her big feud with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. So I do think tonight's the night for a title change. I think it's going to be a great show and a good match there between Ronda and Liv. I've actually really enjoyed their program. I think it's kind of revitalized a little of Ronda since her return to the Royal Rumble, and I think it's done some good stuff. So I'm predicting another title change with Ronda Rousey winning the Women's Championship. I Quit match, Edge going up against Finn Balor. Really excited that Edge is on this show. This kind of felt out of nowhere. Edge has been really involved pretty much the entire year. You've got to give it to him. I think he had a situation where he was supposed to have maybe 6 matches a year or 3 matches a year, but he's pretty much been there all year. And tonight we get him and Finn Balor. This could be a great match. This, I think, is probably one of those that when you heard Edge was returning, was on that short list of dream matches for Edge. The I Quit stipulation is interesting. I don't think Edge is going to quit, so I'm interested to see where they go from it here. I'm actually predicting a little bit of a schmoz finish. I could see AJ Styles joining Judgment Day and costing Edge the match, and then the match being thrown out to some extent. But it's interesting. I can't see Edge tapping out. I also think that Judgment Day is now on the build-up since Dominic joined the group, and it would be the wrong decision to have Finn Balor take the loss. If I had to go, I'm going to go with Edge because I don't see him tapping out, but I really hope that's not the case, and instead we get maybe a schmoz finish or something, or maybe Finn Balor just gets the win. I think Balor needs the win here. He's certainly feels like now he's the leader of that Judgment Day group. I think the story coming out of this is going to be that AJ Styles does indeed join Judgment Day. Moving right along here down the card, one of the other matches that I'm really looking forward to is the aforementioned Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle in the fight pit. This should be a lot of fun here. This should be a hell of a match. And of course, who do they bring in to be the special guest referee for it? One of my favorite, if not my favorite UFC fighter of all time, DC himself, Daniel Cormier. I expect that this match, I know people are saying this is a one-off and whatever, I expect that this is going to lead to Daniel Cormier versus Seth Rollins in a match at Crown Jewel and be presented as kind of that two main event deal there. You just had Ariel Helwani interview Seth Rollins. Ariel Helwani is very connected with Daniel Cormier. It just feels like Saudi Arabia would be the type of venue for a match including Daniel Cormier. They've had matches in the past with past fighters, and I just think that's where they're going to go with this. So I do think Riddle gets the win here, but I would not be surprised at all if this ends up being a situation where Daniel Cormier ends up in a deal fight of some sort with Seth Rollins, maybe a little melee, if you will, maybe a little chaos. Shout out to my main man Steve at the end of that match, and I expect Riddle to get the big win, but then I think Seth Rollins and Daniel Cormier come to blows, or maybe you do a type of deal where Cormier calls I could see them recreating WrestleMania 13 here, where Cormier calls the bell, gives Seth the win. Seth doesn't stop beating up on Rollins. You got Cormier throwing Rollins behind his head or something to that extent, and when that happens, then those two kind of come face to face. But I do think that this match is going to end with those two at Crown Jewel. Another match here, if it's anything like the singles matches we've gotten between Gunther and Sheamus, it's going to be the Brawling Brutes taking on Imperium in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook. I'm not sure what this means, but I think it's going to be a good old-fashioned brawl, and I am ready for it. These guys are going to kill it. You've got, I think, 5 of the 6, I think, are really good. I think Imperium is all great. I love Pete Dunne. I love Sheamus. So let's see how this goes. I think it's going to be fun. I do hope everyone comes out of this unscathed. Sheamus and Gunther have had one of the most fun rivalries. Gunther getting both wins because they're continuing to build him up as this unstoppable force. And I think that is going to continue here. I expect Imperium to get the win. I could see them getting the win, hitting up that big Imperium type pose, and I expect them to do that and get the win here over Sheamus and company, the Brawling Brutes. But again, I'm looking forward to the match. I'm looking forward to this, and it should be a great match on a really solid card. If there's one match I'm not jumping up and down with enthusiasm, if there's some part of me that's not, maybe a little held back, if there's a match on the card that maybe I head down and go get myself a little extra beverage, you know what I'm saying? It's probably going to be Drew McIntyre taking on Karrion Kross in a strap match. I think this match is very interesting. I don't know if everyone is sharing this love for the Karrion Kross return. He showed up, he kind of got involved in the Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre build before Clash at the Castle, then didn't do much, then now he's getting his match with Drew McIntyre, but it feels like he's already a little bit cold, and Philadelphia has been notoriously known as a city that does not hold back. They're a very passionate fan base, all the way back to King of the Ring 1995. I could see old Karrion Kross getting booed out of the building tonight, I really could. I also just feel like the bloom may be off the rose a bit with Drew McIntyre. I hope I'm wrong, because I do like Drew. As a matter of fact, I think Drew has solid matches with everyone. I loved his match with Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. I think it's an underrated match, probably top 5 of that weekend. But I just honestly feel like the Drew McIntyre losing at Clash of the Castle is this year's equivalent of the Lex Express, right? He goes through this big build, and it's so much. You have all these great video packages, all these great fanfare over him potentially winning the title, and then he comes up short. And not only does he come up short, but once he does, he's just like, oh, who cares? We're all having a great time, aren't we? And that was an Irish accent, not a Scottish accent. It was bad too, so I won't do it again. But he's out there singing songs, and it didn't work for me. I understand why they did it. I know the crowd had a great time anyway, and it was a great match. I love that match. I even have it higher than Gunther and Sheamus at Clash of the Castle. I think Drew's super talented in the ring. Does feel like the bloom is off the rose. I don't know if he's ever going to get the title again. I expect Karrion Kross to get the win here, and they kind of see what they have in here. I don't know about this match. I'm actually a little worried for it. I think the crowd's going to turn on it, but it should be a good match, but interesting to see kind of the reception there. So, in any event, breaking down my my finale here, my final recap of my picks. I've got Bayley winning the Women's Championship over Bianca Belair, Ronda Rousey winning the Women's Championship over Liv Morgan. I got Imperium defeating the Brawling Brutes. I got Finn Balor defeating Edge. I've got Seth Rollins, I guess, with the win over Riddle, but then a little bit of a melee between him and DC. And then I've got Karrion Kross over Drew McIntyre. I'm excited. We're a couple hours away from the show. Make sure you check out my vlog here in the coming days. I will talk with you guys again real soon. Thanks so much for checking us out here on Watch Along Wrestling. Catch you in the next video.